The night smelled like rain, metal, and something dangerously wrong. I shouldn't have stopped. Delivery girls don't stop in empty alleys at 2 a.m. in the freezing silence of a sleeping city. We drop the food, collect the cash, and leave. That's the rule. That's survival. But I heard a baby cry. Not just one, two. It wasn't loud. It was broken, weak, like they had been crying for too long. My fingers tightened around the delivery bag. Ignore it, I whispered to myself. Just go. Then I heard a man's voice, low, strained, barely alive. Help, I froze. Every bad decision starts with that one moment you choose kindness over fear. And I chose wrong, or maybe I chose right. I stepped deeper into the alley. The flickering streetlight revealed the scene in pieces. First, the blood. Dark, thick, spreading across the wet ground like it didn't plan to stop. Then the man. He was leaning against the wall, barely conscious, his white shirt soaked red. His head tilted slightly forward, eyes half open but unfocused. He looked expensive. Not just rich, dangerous rich. The kind of man who doesn't lose fights, yet here he was, dying, and in his arms, two tiny babies, wrapped in what used to be a jacket, now stained with blood. Their cries grew louder when they saw me. Or maybe they just felt someone was still alive. My heart slammed against my ribs. Oh my God, I dropped the delivery bag. Hey, can you hear me? I rushed toward him, kneeling beside him, ignoring the blood soaking into my knees. His eyes flickered, sharp, even on the edge of death. They were terrifying. He grabbed my wrist. Hard, too hard for someone who is dying. Don't, he whispered, voice hoarse. Don't call police. Of course he said that, because normal people don't end up like this. Are you insane? I snapped, panic rising. Oh, you're bleeding out. These babies. His grip tightened. They'll come back. My stomach dropped. I did it. Who? But he didn't answer. His head slumped forward, unconscious. Hey! I shook him, but he didn't respond. The baby started crying louder, and suddenly the alley didn't feel empty anymore. Something was wrong, really wrong. I looked around. Silence, too much silence. Then, footsteps. Distant, but coming closer, fast. My breath caught. Whoever they were back. And they weren't coming to help. I had two choices. Run. Or stay. With a dying stranger and two babies who weren't mine. My hands trembled. Why is this happening to me? I whispered. The footsteps got louder. Closer. I looked down at the babies, tiny, helpless, clinging to life, just like him. And something inside me broke. Oh, fine, I said under my breath. Oh, fine, I'll help you. But if I die because of this, I didn't. I grabbed one baby, then the other, wrapping them tightly against me. Then I did the craziest thing I've ever done in my life. I tried to drag the man. He was heavy, dead weight. My arms shook as I pulled him, inch by inch, deeper into the shadows behind a dumpster. The footsteps echoed into the alley. Voices now. Men. A check everywhere. He's not dead. Boss said, confirm it. My heart stopped. Boss? Confirm? This wasn't random. This was a hit. I covered the babies' mouths gently, praying they wouldn't cry. The man beside me didn't move, didn't breathe loudly, didn't make a sound, like he was already gone. The men moved closer. Flashlights cut through the darkness. One beam passed just inches from my face. I held my breath. If they saw me, it was over. One of the men cursed. A blood trail ends here. A search properly. Their footsteps split. Different directions. One of them was coming toward us. Slow, careful. I could hear his shoes scraping the wet ground. Closer, closer, closer. My pulse roared in my ears. The baby in my arms twitched. No. I whispered silently. Don't cry. Please don't cry. The man's flashlight lifted, and suddenly, a gunshot echoed from the street. All the men froze. What was that? Outside, move. Their footsteps rushed away. Gone. Just like that. Silence returned. I didn't move for several seconds. Then 10, then 30. Finally, I exhaled. My whole body collapsed against the wall. I looked down at the babies, still alive, still breathing. Then I looked at him. The man, the stranger, the one who dragged me into this nightmare. Who are you? I whispered, as if answering me. His phone vibrated weakly in his pocket. I hesitated, then slowly reached in and pulled it out. The screen lit up. One name, no number, just a title. A chairman. My throat went dry, and beneath it, a message appeared. The Korean Mafia won't forgive betrayal. I stared at the unconscious man, and then the babies, then back at the message. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I hadn't just helped a stranger. I had just saved a Mafia king. God, I should have walked away. Even after everything, I still had time to leave. But I did. Because somehow in the middle of fear, danger, and complete madness, those two tiny babies were still clinging to me. And I couldn't abandon them. Dragging a half-dead man through empty streets at 2:30 a.m. is something no normal person ever plans for. But there I was, one arm wrapped around a baby, the other pulling a stranger whose blood refused to stop flowing. Come on, please. Just a little more, PA whispered, my voice shaking as I struggled to keep him upright. My apartment wasn't far, a small, worn-out building at the corner of a quiet street. Cheap rent, no questions asked. The kind of place where people minded their own business. Exactly what I needed. Exactly what he needed. If he survived, getting him inside was a nightmare. Every step up the stairs felt like I was carrying death itself. His body kept slipping. My arms burned. The babies whimpered softly, exhausted from crying. Shh, it's okay. I've got you. I murmured, though I wasn't even sure if that was true. By the time I reached my door, my hands were trembling so badly I almost dropped the keys. The lock clicked. The door opened. And just like that, I crossed a line I could never go back from. My apartment wasn't much. A single room, a tiny kitchen, a worn couch, a thin mattress on the floor. But that night, it became a hiding place for a man the world clearly wanted dead. I laid him down. Blood immediately stained the sheets. Great, I whispered under my breath. This is just perfect. The babies started crying again. Louder this time. Hungry, scared, alive. I panicked. I don't even know how to take care of babies, I said, almost laughing from the stress. What do you even drink at this age? I rushed to the kitchen, grabbing the only milk I had. Not ideal, but it was something. I warmed it slightly, found a clean cup, and carefully tried to feed them. At first, they resisted. Slowly, they drank. And just like that, the crying stopped. The silence that followed felt unreal. Peaceful. Too peaceful. Because behind me, a man was still dying. I turned back toward him. His breathing was shallow, uneven, his skin pale. I swallowed hard. I can't just leave you like this. My hands moved before my brain could catch up. First aid kit. Clean cloth, water. I wasn't a doctor, not even close, but I had no choice. I carefully removed his blood-soaked shirt and froze. Scars. Not one, not two, dozens. Old wounds, bullet marks, knife cuts. This wasn't just a man. This was someone who had lived through war, or worse. My hand shook slightly as I cleaned the fresh wound. The bullet had gone through. That was the only reason he was still alive. Lucky, I whispered. Or maybe not. As I wrapped the bandage, he suddenly moved. A sharp breath escaped his lips. Ori. My heart jumped. Hey, can you hear me? His eyes opened. Slowly. And this time, they were fully aware. Cold. Sharp. Dangerous. The kind of eyes that didn't belong in a normal world. He stared at me. No confusion, no gratitude, just calculation. Where am I? His voice was low, controlled despite the pain. My apartment, I answered carefully. You were dying. I brought you here. Silence. His gaze shifted to the babies, sleeping peacefully beside him. Something changed in his expression. Just for a second, something human. Then it disappeared. You shouldn't have done that. My eyebrows pulled together. Excuse me? You've made a mistake, he said, trying to sit up. He winced in pain but didn't stop. Hey, don't move. I pushed him back down. You'll start bleeding again. His hand shot up, grabbing my wrist. Just like before, strong, unyielding. Listen carefully, he said, his voice dropping into something darker. Men are looking for me. When they find out I'm alive, they'll come here. I already figured that out, I snapped. Congratulations, you've ruined my life. His grip tightened slightly. And yet you stayed. I didn't answer. Because I didn't have one. Seconds passed. Then he slowly released my wrist. You should leave, he said quietly. Take the babies. Go somewhere far. My chest tightened. What about you? I'll handle it. I almost laughed. You can't even stand. That won't stop me. Of course it wouldn't. Because he wasn't normal, nothing about him was. Before I could respond, a sudden noise echoed outside. A car, stopping, right in front of the building. Both of us froze. His eyes snapped toward the door. Then to the window. Then to the window. Then back to me. Oh, they're here. My blood ran cold. No, they can't be. They followed the trail. The babies stirred. One of them let out a soft cry. Panic exploded inside me. What do we do? He didn't hesitate. The lights off. I rushed to switch them off. Darkness swallowed the room. Only the faint streetlight filtered through the curtains. Hide, he ordered. Oh, where? This place is tiny, he pointed. A closet. I grabbed the babies quickly, holding them close. What about you? I won't be here. What? The water stopped him. He forced himself up, stumbling, bleeding again. But standing. How are you even... quiet. His voice cut through the room like a blade. For a moment, I actually listened. I rushed into the closet, pulling the door almost shut, leaving a tiny gap. My heart pounded so loud I was sure it would give me away. Footsteps echoed outside, heavy, deliberate, then a knock. Slow, terrifying. Open the door. I covered the babies' mouths gently. Please stay quiet. The knock came again. Harder this time. We know you're in there. My breath stopped. How did they know? I looked through the small gap. The man, the stranger, the Mafia king was gone. The room was empty, like he had vanished. The door handle slowly turned. And in that moment, I realized something even more terrifying than before. I hadn't just brought danger into my home. I had brought something far worse. Something that didn't run from danger. Something that faced it. Head on. The door creaked open. The door opened slowly. Too slowly. Like whoever was outside already knew they had one. From inside the closet, I couldn't breathe. The babies were pressed against my chest, their tiny bodies warm, fragile, completely unaware that death might be standing just a few feet away. A search everything. A deep voice cut through the darkness. Footsteps entered, heavy, confident, not afraid of anything. Why would they be? They were the hunters. One man walked past the closet, so close I could see the edge of his shoe through the small gap. Another moved toward the kitchen. Drawers opened. Cabinets slammed. A bathroom? A clear. My heartbeat echoed in my ears. There was only one place left. The closet. My fingers tightened around the babies. Please don't cry. The footsteps stopped right in front of me. I could see his shadow under the door. My entire body froze. This was it. The end. The handle moved slightly. Then a voice came from behind him. Wait! Another man stepped forward. Different presence, colder, more dangerous. Oh, the blood trail ended here, he said slowly. He was here. Silence filled the room. Then, a small sound escaped one of the babies. A soft, helpless whimper. My heart shattered. No. The man in front of the closet heard it. Of course he did. His hand reached for the handle, and just as he was about to open it, a noise came from the window. Glass. Cracking. Everyone turned. Too late. He appeared like a shadow. Fast. Silent. Deadly. Before I could even process what was happening, the first man dropped. A sharp movement, no scream, just silence. The second man reached for his gun, but he was already too slow. Another strike, another body. Gone. My eyes widened. That was him, the man I dragged into my home. The one who was supposed to be barely alive. He moved like he wasn't injured at all, like pain didn't exist for him, like he was the danger. The leader stepped back, pulling out his weapon. So you're still alive, he said coldly. The man, no. The Mafia king stood in the dim light. Blood still dripping from his side, breathing heavy, but his eyes calm, unshaken. Disappointed? He asked quietly. The leader smirked. You should have died tonight, and yet I didn't. A pause. Then, gunfire. Loud, explosive. I flinched, covering the babies tighter. The sound echoed through the small apartment. One shot, two, three. Then silence again. Seconds passed. I didn't move. Couldn't move. My entire body was shaking. Finally, I forced myself to look, slowly, carefully, through the gap. The room was still, two bodies on the floor, not moving. And the third, the leader, was gone. The window was open, curtains moving with the night air. He escaped. And him, the Mafia king, was standing there, barely, blood now pooling beneath his feet. His body swayed slightly. Then he collapsed. I rushed out of the closet. Hey! The babies started crying again, louder this time, as if they finally understood the danger. I placed them down quickly and ran to him. Stay with me. You can't pass out again. No response. His pulse, weak. Too weak. Why are you like this? I yelled, panic-rising. You're already half dead and still fighting people? Of course he didn't answer. Because he couldn't. I looked around. My home destroyed, blood everywhere, strangers dead on my floor. And somehow, this had become my reality. I pressed my hands against his wound again, trying to stop the bleeding. Please just don't die. My voice cracked. I didn't even know his name. Didn't know anything about him. And yet, I couldn't let him go. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time didn't make sense anymore. The babies cried, then calmed, then cried again. I kept moving between them and him, trying to keep all three alive at the same time. I didn't sign up for this, I whispered weakly, but deep down, I knew I had. The moment I stepped into that alley, everything changed. Suddenly, his hand moved, grabbing mine again, weak this time, but still firm. My breath caught. "Hey, you're awake?" His eyes opened slightly, blurry, but focused on me. He whispered, voice barely there. "Why didn't you run?" I swallowed hard. "I tried," I said softly. "I just couldn't." Silence, his grip loosened, but didn't disappear. "You're stupid." I let out a small, breathless laugh. I figured that out already. For a moment, just a moment, the tension faded. Then his eyes shifted to the babies. "They're safe?" I nodded. "They're okay." Something in his expression softened again. That same brief humanity I saw before, gone just as quickly. "They're not mine." I blinked. "A what?" "They're my brother's." My mind froze. "A brother." "A twin?" His voice faded slightly. "They'll come back for them." My chest tightened. "So that's why they were chasing you?" He didn't answer. Because again, he was slipping away. No, stay with me." His grip finally fell. His eyes closed. And this time I wasn't sure if he would wake up again. I looked at the babies, then at him, then at the blood, at the bodies, at my broken apartment, and I realized something terrifying. This wasn't over. Not even close. Because somewhere out there, a man who escaped tonight knew exactly where we were. And next time, he wouldn't come unprepared. And neither the door didn't just open, it claimed the room. Slow, controlled. Certain, like whoever stood outside already knew there was no escape left inside. From the narrow darkness of the closet, I felt my heartbeat turn violent, like it was trying to break out of my chest and run for me. The babies stirred in my arms, too small to understand fear, too fragile to survive it. Search everything. The voice was calm. That was the worst part. Not angry. Not rushed. Just shh. Sure, boots stepped across my floor like they owned it. Each step heavier than the last, like the walls themselves were giving up. One man moved toward the kitchen, another toward the bed. Drawers opened, wood scraped, metal clinked. A nothing, a check properly. I am a pause. Then a bathroom's clear. My lungs burned. I hadn't taken a proper breath in what felt like forever. There was only one place left, the closet. Me, the babies, and a lie I couldn't hide. The footsteps came closer, slower now, careful, suspicious, smart. He knew. Whoever this was, he knew. A shadow stretched beneath the closet door, stopping right in front of me. I could see the outline of his boots. Black, polished, unshaken. My fingers tightened instinctively around the babies. One of them shifted, a soft breath, a fragile sound. A no, I mouthed silently. A please, the handle moved. Just slightly, enough to end everything. Oh wait, the word sliced through the air. Sharp, commanding, not loud, but powerful enough to stop a killing hand mid-motion. The footsteps shifted. Another man approached. Different energy, colder. This one didn't just follow orders, he gave them. "The blood trail ended here," he said slowly. Each word landed like a verdict. He was here. Silence followed. Heavy, thinking, calculating. Then the smallest sound escaped the baby in my arms. A weak, trembling whimper. And in that instant, everything collapsed. The man at the door froze. Then slowly, very slowly, he turned the handle. I closed my eyes, not out of fear, but because I didn't want the last thing I saw to be the end. Glass shattered, loud, violent, unexpected. Every head snapped toward the window, including mine, and that's when I saw him. He didn't enter like a man, he entered like a consequence, fast, precise, unstoppable. The first attacker didn't even get a chance to react, a blur of movement. Then silence. The body dropped like gravity had been waiting for permission. The second man reached for his weapon. Too late. Too late. Always too late. Another strike. Another fall. No wasted motion. No hesitation. No mercy. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't survival. This was something else. Something darker. Something trained. The last man stepped back slowly. Calm. Observing. Not afraid. Not afraid. That made him more dangerous than the others. So, he said, voice low, almost amused. Alive. The man I dragged home, the one who was supposed to be dying, stood in the dim light. Blood still dripping down his side, face pale, but his eyes clear, cold, focused. Disappointed, he asked quietly. A smirk curved on the attacker's lips. "You should have died tonight." A pause. Then the answer came like a promise. And yet, I didn't. Time slowed. The air shifted. Wheel. Something invisible passed between them. Not fear, not anger, recognition, history. Then, gunfire exploded. The sound ripped through the room, deafening in the small space. I flinched, pressing the babies tightly against me, shielding them instinctively. 1 shot, 2, 3, 3. I couldn't see clearly from the closet, only shadows, movement, chaos, and then nothing. Silence returned like it had never left, but it wasn't the same silence. This one was heavier. Seconds passed, or maybe minutes. My ears rang, my body refused to move, but my eyes, they forced themselves open. Slowly, carefully, through the narrow gap, 2 bodies, still, unmoving, the third gone. The window swayed open, curtains dancing with the cold night air. He escaped, and him, the one who fought like death itself, was still standing. For a second, just one. Then his body gave in. He collapsed. Everything inside me snapped back to life. I burst out of the closet, nearly stumbling. "Hey, stay with me!" The baby started crying again, louder now, sensing everything breaking apart. I dropped to my knees beside him. "Why would you even fight like that?" I yelled, panic cracking my voice. "You can barely stand." No answer, of course. His breathing was uneven again. Weak, dangerously weak. I pressed my hands against his wound, trying to stop the bleeding again. "Don't do this." Not now. My hands were shaking, my thoughts racing, my life completely unrecognizable. The room smelled like iron and fear. My home wasn't mine anymore. Time blurred. I moved between him and the babies again and again, trying to keep all 3 alive, trying to not fall apart, trying to understand how a delivery girl ended up in the middle of a war she didn't even know existed. Then his hand moved, weak but intentional. It found mine. I froze. "Hey, can you hear me?" His eyes opened slightly, not fully, but enough. His voice barely existed. "Why didn't you run?" I swallowed. "Because I didn't have a logical answer, only a real one." "I don't know," I whispered. "I just couldn't leave them." A pause. His eyes shifted slightly, toward the babies, still crying softly, still alive. "You're stupid," he murmured. A small broken laugh escaped me. Yeah, I get that a lot tonight. Something changed in his gaze again. That same flicker. That same humanity trying to survive inside something much darker. They are not mine. My brows pulled together. "What?" My brothers. Everything inside me paused. A brother. Twin. The word echoed. Twin. Not just family, a mirror, a reflection, someone just as dangerous. Or maybe worse. "They'll come back," he whispered. For them. A chill ran through me. "Why the babies?" No answer. Because again, he was slipping away. No, don't do that. Stay with me." But his grip loosened, his eyes closed. And this time, it felt different. Too still, too quiet. I sat there. Between life and death. Between innocence and violence. Between a man I didn't know and a future I didn't choose. And somewhere out there, a man who escaped tonight wasn't running. He was preparing. And next time, he wouldn't just knock. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The night refused to end, and even when the sky began to lighten, it didn't feel like morning. It felt like the world was holding its breath. He was still unconscious, lying exactly where he collapsed. Too still, too quiet. Every few seconds, I leaned closer just to check if he was breathing. Still alive, barely. The babies were finally asleep, curled together on my mattress like they belonged there, like none of this was real. I watched them for a moment longer than I should have, because they were the only peaceful thing left in my life. Then I looked around, and reality came crashing back. Broken glass, 2 dead bodies. My apartment ruined. Okay, think. I whispered to myself, pacing. This is fixable, right? People fix things like this, right? My voice sounded desperate, because it was. First problem, the bodies. I froze. I don't even know what to do with that. Calling the police? Impossible. Running away? Too late. Ignoring it? Definitely not an option. Before I could figure anything out, a sound stopped me. A breath. Behind me. I turned sharply. He was awake, not barely awake like before. This time, fully. His eyes were open. Clear, sharp, watching me. For a second, neither of us spoke. Both to dead, using it up. Then he slowly pushed himself up, ignoring the pain, ignoring the blood. Like his body didn't control him, he controlled it. "You're gonna reopen your wound." I rushed toward him. He didn't stop, didn't listen, didn't care. His gaze moved around the room, the bodies, the broken window, the blood. He took it all in within seconds. "They found me faster than expected," he said calmly. Like he was discussing the weather, I stared at him. Like 2 people are dead in my house, and we're still alive, he replied. Cold, simple, final. Something inside me snapped. Normal, I shouted. Don't, I shouted. You don't just say that like it's nothing. His eyes shifted to me, slowly, and for the first time, I felt it. Fear, not of the situation, of him. You're still here, he said quietly. That means you chose this. My mouth opened, then closed, because deep down he wasn't completely wrong. I didn't choose this, I argued. I chose to help someone. I didn't know I was bringing a whole war into my house. Silence. Then he stood up, fully this time. I stepped back instinctively, because something about it, like it changed. Not physically, but the energy, the air around him felt heavier. Controlled. Dangerous. You shouldn't have stayed, he said. I know that, I snapped. You've said that like 5 times already. Another pause. Then he walked toward the door. My heart skipped. Wait, where are you going? To fix this. Fix what? I gestured wildly. You're bleeding. There are dead bodies. People are hunting you. What exactly is your plan? He stopped, just before opening the door. Then, without turning around, he said something that made my blood run cold. From this moment on. A pause. You don't leave this apartment. I blinked. What? He turned his head slightly, just enough for me to see one eye. Dark, unreadable. You saw their faces. My stomach dropped. They saw you. My voice came out weaker than I expected. So now you're involved. Oh no, I shook my head quickly. Oh no, I'm not. I didn't do anything. You helped me. Look what you're saying. Silence? Heavy. Unavoidable. Well, that's enough. I stared at him, trying to understand, trying to process, trying to deny what he was saying. I can just leave, I said quickly. I'll go somewhere else. They won't find me. And no, one word. Flat. Absolute. Oh, why not? I demanded. Because they will. He finally turned fully toward me. And now there was no softness left in him. People like them don't leave loose ends. My chest tightened. And I'm a loose end? Yes. The word hit harder than I expected. But you're still alive, he continued, which means a slight pause. You're under my protection. Relief almost came until he finished the sentence. And my control. Everything inside me went still. Control? You don't leave. That's not your decision. It is now. Anger rushed through me. Fast. Hot. Fear turning into resistance. You don't get to lock me in my own house. He stepped closer. Not fast. Not aggressive. But enough to make me stop talking. You think this is about power? He asked quietly. I didn't answer. It's about survival. His voice lowered. Not threatening. Not loud. But final. If you walk out that door, a pause, you won't make it to the street. Silence filled the room again, but this time it wasn't just fear, it was realization. Because for the first time, I believed him. I looked at the door, then at the window, then at the babies, still asleep, still innocent, still trapped in something they didn't understand. So what? I whispered. I just stay here forever? No. Then how long? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, his gaze shifted toward the babies. Until I end this. A chill ran down my spine. End what? His eyes darkened slightly. My brother. Silence. The word hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. And in that moment, I understood something terrifying. The man I saved wasn't just running from danger. He was walking straight back into it. The room felt smaller after that. Not physically, but mentally. Like the walls had moved closer without touching anything. Me, brother. So those 2 words refused to leave my head. They echoed. Again. And again. And again. Etienne, kill your own brother? I finally asked. My voice sounded different now. Quieter. Careful. He didn't answer immediately. He walked past me instead, straight toward the babies. I tensed. Instinctively, watching him, he stopped beside them, looked down, and for the first time, he didn't look dangerous. He looked human. His hand hovered slightly above them, not touching, just there, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to. They look like him, he said quietly. Brows pulled together. Your brother? A small pause. Then, yes, something in his voice shifted. Not softer, not weaker, but heavier. I stepped a little closer, carefully. Then why? I hesitated. Why would he want them dead? That was the moment everything changed. His eyes lifted, and whatever humanity I had just seen disappeared. Because they exist. A chill ran through me. That's not an answer. It is. Frustration bubbled up again. No, it's not. These are babies, not enemies. To him, he said coldly. They're both. Silence. I shook my head slowly. This doesn't make any sense. Then I'll make it simple. He turned fully toward me, and this time he didn't hold anything back. We were born into power, he said. A same face, same blood, same name. A pause. But not the same future. I listened, because now I needed to know. There can only be one head, he continued. One leader, one king. My stomach dropped. So this is about control? No. Then what? He stepped closer. Not aggressively, but enough to make every word feel heavier. It's about survival. I froze. He made his move first, he said. And he didn't miss. My eyes widened slightly. Ovi Ali Biesta, that was your brother? Yes, the word hit differently this time. Not just shocking, but personal. And the babies? I asked quietly. There is weakness. My heart tightened. You mean leverage? No. A pause, then a legacy. I blinked. If they live, he said, his claim weakens. And if they die, I whispered. Mean ends. Everything inside me went still. This wasn't just a fight. This was inheritance, power, identity, blood. So he tried to kill you and them at the same time. Yes. Silence stretched between us, heavy, unavoidable. Then I asked the question that had been sitting in my chest since the beginning. And you? He looked at me. What about me? If you find him first, my voice dropped. Will you do the same thing? A long pause followed. Too long, because I already knew the answer. Yes. The word landed like a blade. I stepped back. Slowly. Then what's the difference between you and him? I asked. His expression didn't change. A timing. I stared at him. Trying to understand. Trying to accept. Trying not to. That's not enough, I said. It is in my world, but not in mine. My voice cracked this time. Finally breaking through everything else. These babies don't deserve this. I pointed toward them. They didn't choose any of this. Neither did I. I didn't say that part out loud, but it was there, between every word. For the first time, he didn't respond immediately. His gaze shifted again to the babies. They deserve to live, I continued, softer now. Not to be used in some war between brothers. Another pause. Then, they will live. My eyes snapped to his. As long as I do. Relief tried to settle in my chest, but it didn't fully land. Because I understood what that meant. If he dies, they die too. That's not protection, I whispered. That's a countdown. He didn't deny it. And somehow, that made it worse. The babies stirred again. One of them let out a soft cry. Without thinking, I moved first. I picked him up gently, holding him close, rocking slightly. Shh. It's okay. The other started crying too. Great, I muttered. And now both of you, before I could move, he did. He picked up the second baby, carefully. Unexpectedly, I froze watching him. He didn't look at me. Didn't say anything. Just held the baby, a little awkwardly, but steady. The crying slowly faded. And for a moment, everything felt normal. No blood, no danger, no mafia. Just two adults holding two babies, trying to keep them calm. Then reality came back. What happens now? I asked quietly. His answer came without hesitation. I leave tonight. My chest tightened. And us? They stay? Here? Yes. With bodies? I whispered harshly. They won't matter by morning. I blinked. What does that mean? You don't need to know. That answer didn't help at all. And if they come back? I pressed. They will. My grip on the baby tightened slightly. Then how am I supposed to survive that? I asked. He stepped closer again. This time, not intimidating, not controlling, certain. You won't be alone? I frowned. What does that mean? Before he could answer, a phone vibrated. Not mine, his. He pulled it out slowly, looked at the screen, and for the first time, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Tension, not fear, but alertness. What is it? I asked. He didn't reply immediately. Then he turned the screen slightly, enough for me to see. A message. We found her. My blood ran cold. Her? I whispered. His eyes locked onto mine, and the next words changed everything. They're not talking about you. Silence. Then who? A pause. Then, their mother? My breath stopped. The babies in our arms suddenly felt heavier. Because this wasn't just about brothers anymore. It was about her. And whatever happened next was going to bring her into the middle of it. Their mother. The words didn't just land. They settled into the room like something alive. Watching. Waiting. Changing everything. I looked down at the baby in my arms, then at the one he was holding. So small, so unaware. And somewhere out there, their mother was in danger because of all this. She's alive? I asked slowly. Yes. Then why aren't they with her? His jaw tightened slightly. Not anger. Not exactly. Not exactly. But something close, because she ran. My brows pulled together. From you? A pause. From all of it, that answer felt more real, more human. Can you blame her? I whispered. His eyes flicked toward me. Sharp, but he didn't respond, which was answer enough. The phone was still in his hand. The message still on the screen. We found her. Where is she? I asked. He locked the phone. They didn't say. Then how do you know it's real? They wouldn't lie about this. Something about the way he said it made my chest tighten again. Because it matters? I asked. A pause. Because it's useful. Of course, everything in his world had a purpose. Even people. I shook my head slightly. I don't like the way you say things. You don't like my world. That too. Silence stretched again. But it wasn't empty. It was full of things we weren't saying. What are you going to do? I asked. His answer came immediately. I'm going to find her first. And then... This time he didn't answer, and that silence said more than anything else. We're not going to hurt her, right? I asked carefully. His eyes met mine. Steady. Unreadable. That depends. My chest tightened. On what? On whether she's a threat. I stepped back. Slowly. I'll step back. Slowly. She's the mother of your brother's children. She's connected to my enemy. She's not your enemy. She's a risk. The words hit harder than they should have. Everyone is a risk to you, aren't they? I said quietly. A pause. Then, yes. He was honest. I looked at the babies again. Then back at him. And what about me? That question slipped out before I could stop it. Silence. His gaze didn't move, didn't soften, didn't avoid. You already are one. That should have scared me. And it did. But not in the way I expected. Then why am I still here? I asked. A long pause followed. And for the first time, he didn't have an immediate answer. Because you chose to stay, he said finally. I shook my head. That's not the real reason. Another silence. Then, you're useful. The answer came back to that. Always. I forced a small, bitter smile. All right. Of course, the babies shifted again. Restless, like they could feel everything shifting around them. I adjusted my hold on the one in my arms. Do they have names? I asked softly. He looked at them. Longer this time. No, I blinked. What? They weren't given any. I stopped myself. That's not normal. Nothing about this is. Fair enough. I looked down at the baby again. His tiny fingers wrapped around mine instinctively. They should have names, I said. Why? Because they're not just part of your war. Silence. They're people. Another pause. Then you can name them. I looked up quickly. What? You're taking care of them? That doesn't mean... It does. His tone ended the argument before it could begin. I stared at him, confused, surprised, a little overwhelmed. You're serious? I looked back down at the babies, at their small faces, at their quiet breathing. Names. Something so simple, so normal, in the middle of something so dangerous. I'll think about it, I said softly. He didn't respond, but he didn't take it back either. A moment passed, then another. So when do you leave? I asked. Soon, my chest tightened again. Yeah, and you're just going to leave us here? Yes. That's not a plan. It is. I stared at him in disbelief. They'll come back, I said. You said it yourself. They will. Then how am I supposed to survive that? This time, he stepped closer, but not in that cold, controlling way. Something different. You won't be alone. You said that before. I replied quickly. What does it actually mean? He reached into his pocket again, pulled something out. Small device. He placed it on the table. What is that? A tracker. My stomach dropped. For me? Yes. I stepped back immediately. Oh, no. No way. If something happens, I'll know. That means you'll always know where I am. Yes. That's not protection. That's surveillance. That's survival. The same words. Again, I shook my head. I don't like this. You don't like this. Then I'm not using it. Silence. Then, you don't have a choice. Anger flared again. I always have a choice. Not anymore. The words were quiet, but final. And for the first time, I realized something I had been trying to ignore. This wasn't just temporary. This wasn't just survival. This was control. Real. Unavoidable. I looked at the door. At the window. At the broken remains of my normal life. And then back at him. You really locked me in this, didn't you? A pause. Then, yes. No hesitation. No apology, just truth. The babies shifted again, soft, innocent, unaware, and somehow they were the only reason I didn't completely break. Fine, I whispered, his gaze sharpened slightly. But if I'm trapped in this world now, I looked him straight in the eyes. Then you don't get to treat me like I'm nothing. Silence, a long one, then something unexpected happened. I don't. My breath caught slightly, because for the first time that didn't sound like a lie. Outside, a car passed. The world kept moving, like none of this existed. But inside, everything had already changed. And somewhere out there, a woman was running, a brother was hunting, and a war was just beginning. The moment he left, the silence became unbearable. The door closed behind him with a quiet click. No drama, no final words, just gone. And somehow, that felt worse. I stood there for a long time, staring at the door like it might open again, like he might walk back in and say, this was all a mistake. But he didn't. The babies stirred softly. One of them let out a small cry. Then the other followed. Reality snapped back. Okay, I'm here, I whispered quickly, rushing to them. I'm still here. I picked them both up, one after the other, trying to calm them. But this time, it felt different. Because now, it was just me. No dangerous man, no cold voice, no control, just responsibility. Heavy, real, unavoidable. I don't even know your names yet, I murmured, gently rocking them. The words lingered. Names. Something so simple, but it suddenly felt important. I looked at the one in my left arm. He had calmer eyes, quiet, observing. You feel like someone who watches everything, I said softly. Ian, then the other. Restless, stronger cry. More energy. And you. I smiled faintly despite everything. You're definitely not quiet. Zane. The name settled into the room like something warm, something human. Ian Zane, I repeated. And for the first time since everything started, something felt right. Until the phone buzzed. I froze, not mine, his. He had left it. Seriously? I whispered. I walked slowly toward it. Every step careful, like the phone itself might explode. The screen lit up. Another message. Location confirmed. She's moving north. Alone? My heart dropped. The mother. Is she still running? I whispered. I looked at the babies, then back at the message. She doesn't even know that they were safe, that they were here, that everything was about to get worse. My fingers hovered over the phone. Should I? No. Yes, I picked it up. Hands shaking. I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know if I was making things better or worse. But something inside me pushed forward. If she was their mother, she deserved to know. I opened the message thread, scrolled, fast. Names, locations, orders. Everything looked like pieces of a war I didn't understand. Then I found something. A contact. No name. Just a symbol. My heart raced. This has to be her. I hesitated. One last time. Then I typed, "Our babies are alive." I stared at the screen. Seconds passed. Nothing. Then it buzzed. A reply. Instant. "Who is this?" My breath caught. "She's there," I whispered. I typed again. "They're safe. Don't come back." The reply came faster this time. "Where are they?" I froze because I didn't know what to say. Tell her? Don't tell her. Trust her? Don't trust anyone? My mind raced. Then another message came. Please. Just one word, but it hit harder than everything else because it didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like a mother. I looked at Ian, at Zane. Then back at the phone, and before I could stop myself, I sent the location. The second I did, my heart dropped. What did I just do? Hours passed. Too slow, too fast. I couldn't tell anymore. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow felt wrong. Every second felt like something was about to happen. Then a knock. Soft. Careful. My entire body froze. No, it couldn't be. Not already. I moved slowly toward the door. Ian, Zane, Dad whispered, placing them gently in the corner behind me. Stay quiet. Another knock. This time, even softer, not forceful, not threatening, different. Hello? A voice came from outside. A woman. My breath stopped. Please. I opened the door and everything changed. She stood there, tired, breathing unevenly, eyes filled with fear and something stronger. Hope. Her clothes were dusty, her hands trembling, her hair slightly messy, like she had been running for a long time. But the moment her eyes moved past me into the room, everything else disappeared. My babies. Her voice broke. She rushed inside before I could say anything, straight to them, falling to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she pulled them into her arms. Me babies, my babies. I stood there, frozen, watching, because this moment was real, pure, not about power. Not about war, just love. And for a second, I forgot everything else. Until the door slammed shut behind us. Hard. Both of us turned. My heart dropped because he was back. Standing there, watching, silent, and the look in his eyes wasn't relief. It wasn't anger. It was something far more dangerous. Calculation. You shouldn't have done that, he said quietly. My throat went dry. She's their mother. I know who she is. The woman froze. Still holding the babies. Slowly she looked up at him, and the fear in her eyes was different, deeper. You found me, she whispered. Silence filled the room again, and in that moment, I realized something I hadn't understood before. This wasn't just a reunion. This was a collision. Between past and present, between love and power, between survival and truth, and whatever happened next was going to break something